What's up, folks? Today I'm once again sponsored by Arrtx. This is sort of a two-part collaboration I'm doing with them. The other video was the video where I did the strawberry shortcake style thing with the colored pencils, and this one is going to be with the 36 acrylic marker set. I really like this one because it basically has all the colors that I want from the 64 color set that I've gotten in the other video, except there's less, but it's a good variety, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, which I really like. So because I already did a review, I'm just going to be showing off like experimentation and stuff, because that is something that I've been wanting to do. So ever since I've gotten these acrylic markers, I've been doing a lot of experimenting with watercolors and just sort of messing around with it. And I will say that obviously they can't mix with watercolors, but I'm using them on top of watercolors and using them as shadows or as outlines, and it's been interesting to say the least. I wanted to talk about experimentation and art styles and stuff in this video as I, go through my process, because what I'm going to be working on is going to be very experimental and kind of different from what I usually do, because I've been feeling very weird about my art lately, because I'm not really sure what sort of direction I want to go with it. I don't hate my art style or anything, but I feel like a lot of artists that I've been admiring and getting like influences from are very different. Like all their styles are so different from each other that seeing like all the different styles really like messes with your brain, because it's like, okay, one art style I like is very cartoonish and simple, and the other art styles I like are very detailed and they have like super realistic rendering, and so it's really difficult to balance those out, because I'm like, oh boy, I really like this artist, but how am I supposed to balance these influences when I don't even know what I want to do anymore? So that's kind of been my big issue kind of over the summer, is just sort of wondering where I want to go with my art style and experimenting, because I think I really love simplistic art styles, specifically ones that kind of look messy. And when I say messy, I don't mean messy like in a scribbly kids way. I mean messy, but like in an intentional way, where it's like you can tell that the artist is like loose and didn't really and went with the flow of it. I think that's the problem that I've had with my art style, is that I don't feel the flow. Like I've been trying to draw, and it's been so hard, and I feel like part of it might just because I'm not really practicing that much, like anatomy and all that. Like I feel like my anatomy is kind of, I don't want to say it's worsened, like I do understand it, but I feel like it's sort of, I think everything's stagnated at the moment, like in terms of art. Part of that is because I'm out of school, I'm on summer break, and the other part of it is because, well, I'm not really doing as much practicing as I should be, because when I was a kid, the reason why I improved so fast was because I was redrawing artist art and doing all these experimentations and stuff, and now as an adult, I kind of stopped because, unfortunately, school made it kind of difficult, ironically. Even though we did a lot of like out-of-the-box stuff, it still felt restrictive in a way, because we still had to because I don't want to experiment too much, because if I did, I didn't want to get a bad grade on trying something new, but at the same time I wanted to try something new, but I didn't want to, it was so confusing and just all over the place. Like I remember last semester, this one class I took, even though I was trying to like do stuff that was different and whatnot, the professor still gave me like B's on my assignments, and I felt so bad. I know a B isn't bad, like a B is good, but for me, in art class, a B isn't really the best, because I usually am used to getting A's because I excel at art, so I want to get an A in art, so I'm a bit harder on myself in that regard, but yeah. But I will say that last semester, I took one class that really affected my perception of like style and I guess skill and whatnot, and it was a picture book class. So in this picture book class, we basically had to come up with a story, and then we had to do concept art for the characters, and then we had to do like a sort of a plot outline and a manuscript, and then we had to sketch out the entire book. It was like 40 pages. It was either 40 pages or 32 pages. I went with 40 pages because my plot was very long, and if you recognize the characters, it was Candel and Omeletto, and I actually really got attached to them, and they're now like official OCs. They're really adorable. I love them, but I can make a video or some other thing about that another time. But anyway, what I really loved about the class was that it exposed me to artists that had art that didn't feel like what I would usually see, because as an art student, I'm so used to seeing like these very super well rendered paintings and stuff, and seeing these books for children and seeing how their styles are so simple and loose and messy made me feel really it just felt really intriguing, I guess, because I wasn't used to seeing that. And also, I just think that kids' books in general are just such a underrated thing. I kind of feel bad that a lot of kids are probably not reading a lot of books now because they're too busy with their tablets, because parents don't want to give them books, they want to give them tablets, even though a book would probably be a lot better. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. The point is that I think children's book illustration is very underappreciated, and I was one of the people that underappreciated it, and taking that class really made me appreciate and love it. And I was like, you know what, if I get the opportunity, I would love to illustrate my own children's book, even though I'm not the best, like, I'm not great with kids in general, so which is ironic, but I do like the idea of making a children's book. There has been an attitude of like, I don't want to simplify and dumb down my content, but at the same time, I don't mind making children's content. I just feel like I don't know how much I would like to balance that, but besides the point is that I wouldn't mind making children's illustrations for anything. So seeing all those artists was definitely really fun and just eye-opening. There was one book that I really loved the style of, and I think that book just like stuck in my head because I love the style so much. I do not like the plot, and like if you look up the reviews to this book, oh boy, it's so funny because I'll say it's called XO Ox, and it's basically about this ox that keeps sending letters to this gazelle who's like some sort of celebrity, and she's like, can you stop sending me letters? And he's like, no, I'm in love with you. And that's why people were upset about it. And yeah, I don't like it either. But anyway, I loved the style of it. I loved how the watercolors looked. I love seeing texture. I love seeing, and in digital art, I love seeing like the paper texture that some people might use. I just love it. I love seeing that. And I think that part is partially why I'm so drawn to these sort of styles, because I love the aesthetic of it. So that's why I wanted to sort of experiment, because I really envy artists who are able to be so loose and more cartoonish and less worried about anatomy and whatnot. Like, you can tell they're good at art and you can tell that they understand the basics, but they're able to exaggerate and stylize in such a way that it still looks like what it originally is without losing its charm. And I really want to recreate that vibe, because I feel like my art is very restrictive right now, and I feel like this might be the way to fix it. I try to remedy it by doing this journal thing where I just draw a bunch of random stuff in a journal, or just put collage things, or just do random stuff or whatever. And I thought that would help because, you know, I wanted to journal and do all these like collagey, scrapbooky things, but it just didn't work out, or I just kind of gave up on it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna give myself a week to finish it, but I didn't, and it makes me kind of sad because I think I'm putting too much pressure on myself as well. It has just been so difficult with style stuff, and I really feel like all these influences and what I want to do with my art has just been a lot. So that's why I want to experiment. I don't want this to be a negative video. I just want to give my honest opinions on like my art. And that's why like the acrylic markers has also been helpful, because it's given me a new medium to try new things with. And I think that's been helpful as well. Sometimes when it comes to art and wanting to try new things, getting new materials definitely helps, because it's like, oh, I got a new thing I can use. Because before I got acrylic markers, I was just doing actual acrylic paint in my sketchbooks, which was not bad, but it was definitely messy. And I think having acrylic markers was helpful because it's not as messy, and I don't have to worry about like constantly cleaning up and having to get out all these brushes and whatnot just to get like some stuff or patterns on a page, which is very convenient. The point of this video is just to say I want to experiment more, and I hope you guys are okay with me with this new side of my art. Like, I'm not changing my art style completely, more so I want to just take a break from just being so restrictive with myself and just making stuff that I think will be more fun for me and more helpful to my development. I don't know where my art's going to go in the future, but it's always going to change, and I think right now I'm in the sort of state of my art changing. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you quacks later.